Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Relationships. If your significant other had lied to you about mostly everything about their life, is that a white lie or not? Well, this one's from user IntelligentAd3412. My 28 female boyfriend, 32 male, told me a white lie for almost 3 years, and I'm not sure it's a red flag. I'll try to make this as short as possible, but it's going to be long as hell because there is so much lying going on. My boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years, living together for 2. We have a pretty good relationship, obviously with ups and downs, but we make it work and are happy. A little background on me and my boyfriend for context. I come from a single-parent home. My father was absent. My mother was and is by no means perfect, but she did her best with what she had. We were poor. Life was never easy for us, but we had each other. Since I was pretty young, I've wanted to pay her back someday. I've worked incredibly hard to be able to do so. I help her financially as much as I can and regularly pay her bills or send her cash. I'm also her only living child now, as my brother passed away 5 years ago, which basically left me to help her. I don't care, I love my mother, and the right thing to do is to help her when she needs it, but it is stressful. This is relevant because my boyfriend described coming from a somewhat similar past, and it is something we have bonded over. Having the mutual experiences seemed to bring us closer. He told me he also helped his parents financially, and we would often vent to each other about the stress it brings. I'm not one to confide in many people, so having someone who I felt like actually understood me was meaningful to me. So here's where the lies come in, and I need someone to either tell me I'm not crazy and this is effed up, or that I am crazy and this isn't a huge deal. I'm fine with either. When we met, my boyfriend lived in a condo in a pretty swanky part of the city. I live in the US, Northeast. He told me he owned that apartment or condo. I found this to be interesting or odd because he was 28 at the time, and I know this property is upwards of $650,000 on the low end, and he was in an entry-level job for like 2 years, so the numbers just didn't really add up. Whatever, maybe he's good at saving? But then, since we're living together, I never once saw a piece of mail for a mortgage payment, electric bill, taxes, nothing. Not for 2 whole years. Very odd. Also, when we started living together, he didn't have his room rented out in the former apartment yet, so he was still responsible for that portion of the rent. He would send a Venmo payment to his mother on the first of every month for his portion. I don't own property, but I can't think of a scenario where I would Venmo my mother to pay the mortgage on a property I supposedly own. Getting more odd. He would then go to his parents' house for an afternoon and come back really upset. Usually when I would ask why, it was because they were having financial problems and he needed to help them out. I totally understood this and supported him. He literally has cried on my shoulder about this many times. He tried to start a company years back and ended up getting into debt somehow. He told me this debt was $17,000 and that he paid it off. I'm confused because I met him only 2 to 3 years after the supposed debt accrued or company dissolved, and it was already paid off? He told me when he moved back home after the business failed, he was $17,000 in debt and living at his parents' house working at a minimum wage job. How someone with a minimum wage job pays off that much debt in 3 years, I'll never know. We got into a fight a few weeks ago and I finally had enough and confronted him about these things. Long story short, he doesn't help his parents. They actually pay his phone bill, and this was all a lie. He doesn't own that apartment. He didn't pay off that debt for his company. He initially told me his parents helped pay it off and then like 3 minutes later came clean and said that his business partner paid it off, so I have literally no idea what the truth is there. And if anything, in my eyes, his parents are the ones who are financially supporting him. So now, I'm dating a 31-year-old man who doesn't pay his own phone bill, was lying to me or completely fabricating aspects of his life for 3 years, and then, when confronted about it, continued to make up lies and then came clean about them 5 minutes later. I'm obviously concerned that he could lie for this long about fundamentally important things like our values and so on. I sincerely thought I would marry this man. He seemed to understand me like no one else and to be a truly caring and genuine person. Now, I'm having a hard time rationalizing actually planning a life around someone who would not only lie about their background and family, etc., but also financial aspects. Aside from that, I now can't tell what is the truth and what is a lie. I've also noticed other things he has lied about, called him out on it, and he has denied it outright to my face. I see this as a form of gaslighting, as I know I'm not wrong, but he is trying to convince me otherwise. Am I overreacting? Is this a white lie that went haywire, or is this actually a series of complete and utter BS used to manipulate me? And also, is it insane for me to actually consider a life with this man? Any advice is appreciated. OP, so sorry, but this is not a white lie. This is a man that made up a whole life circumstance in order for you to get to bond with him. You bonded with a lie, not with the person you're dating. The person you think you're in love doesn't really exist. If anything, you're underreacting, and yes, it is completely insane for you to actually consider having a life with this person. What kind of life are you gonna have? You're gonna be doubting every single thing they say to you because you're gonna think it's a lie. And this is why trust is so important in a relationship. How can you trust someone who lied about their whole life so that you could fall for them? But like you guys know, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Well, the good thing is that we have an update, so we know how this story ends. Let's continue with that. My previous post got more attention than expected, so I figured I'd update. Well, it's over. As many of you suggested, I couldn't possibly build my life around someone who lied so pathologically. I initially agreed to work on the relationship, provided that my ex get therapy to work through why he felt compelled to lie about so many aspects of his life. I also requested that he come clean to his parents, my parents, and anyone else he lied to or embellished the truth to. He agreed to this and seemed genuinely interested in working on things and himself. I really wanted it to work out and was willing to accept that maybe he was just wildly insecure, had some attachment issues, or something that caused him to act this way. I waited 4 months for the therapy and confessions to happen, and they never did, not surprisingly. For those of you who are confused about how I didn't know he did not own this apartment for so long or thought I had never met his parents, I had met them many times. But to be honest, they are pretty cold people who I never really connected with that much and was definitely not comfortable enough to be like, hey, is your son a pathological liar or is all of this true? On top of that, he also told a lot of these lies to his parents as well, so they wouldn't have been keen to what I was talking about anyway. It got to the point where basically anything that came out of his mouth seemed like a lie, or at least a half-truth to me. Also, I lost respect for someone who could lie so easily and then not even feel guilty enough or any remorse to come clean about it. I'm pretty honest, almost to a fault. So the cognitive dissonance there that occurred from being with someone who had basically opposite values from me was tough. I'm sure there were a lot of other things he was hiding, but I don't even care. I've been single and living alone for a week, and to be frank, I'm killing it. I'm now responsible for 100% of my rent, and I barely have any savings left. But I still feel like a giant weight has lifted off my shoulders. Crazy how that works. I want to thank all of the people who gave me the hard truth straight up and encouraged me to leave. Even though it was all coming from internet strangers, it still helps to hear people tell you that you deserve more than what you're getting. I'm so happy, and I must be giving off a much better vibe because I've already had 2 dates and been asked for my number a handful of times. I'm a server at a restaurant, lol. I sound like a cocky a-hole, but God, does it feel good to remember you're not as worthless as someone made you feel. Thanks, Reddit, and if any of you are in a relationship with someone who is like this, get the F out and don't look back. Well, good for you, OP, and that's some solid advice you left for anybody who would read your story. If you are in a relationship with someone who lies the whole time, yeah, get the F out and don't look back. Okay, so on that note, let's move on to the next story. How would you react with the news that your girlfriend's gay best friend isn't actually gay? Well, this one's from user Beyond Expression. My 27 male and my girlfriend 24 female of 2 years might be lying about her gay best friend. I'm normally a Reddit lurker, but I decided I would make a post. Sorry if this is long. Obligatory, this happened September 28th, 2020. To start with a bit of important information, I was raised in an isolated sort of commune, 5 houses on 12 acres of land, by 2 very environmental loving, quiet, kind parents who raised me to believe all situations can be solved through calm and quiet interaction. Everyone around me growing up was the same way. So naturally, I'm a quiet and very non-confrontational person, and I don't do well around incredibly loud and outgoing people as they make me uneasy. I do have one redeeming quality I've always found to be my best. I'm very good at reading people's body language and tone of voice. On to this story. I have had a total of 2 bad relationships in the past. I have the baby face of Legolas from Lord of the Rings with the long blonde hair to follow and absolutely 0 body hair. I'm quiet, meek, and very feminine for a male. It never bothered me until I moved into the city for college. Women have always walked all over me in relationships, and I didn't realize that until a few close friends I made pointed it out. The girl I'm currently with was the complete opposite of every woman I've dated before. She's honest, kind, loving, nerdy, and is incredibly intelligent, working on her master's in financing. Over the course of the last 2 years we've been together, she's been absolutely wonderful to me. She has a stronger, I'm gonna get crap done mentality and isn't much afraid to stand up for herself, unlike me. Her drive to solve issues has been amazing in our relationship because she can tell when something is bothering me and very calmly and lovingly is able to coax it out of me. Because of this dynamic, our relationship problems are almost non-existent. About 3 months into our relationship, I met her gay best friend. Let's call him Tim. He's a tall, in shape, great-looking, manly man. Picture an old cartoon lumberjack with the beard and muscles. He's a nice guy, but polar opposite of me in that he's outgoing, loud, funny, and he draws people into his stories when he speaks. It's rather impressive, honestly. My girlfriend and Tim would go out occasionally after work and have a few drinks, sometimes going out to clubs and drinking, but he always seemed to bring her back to me even if she was a bit too drunk to drive. I was never bothered nor intimidated by him as he was always super kind to me and on occasion would bring me fast food if they got in late from their drinking. I would even go out with them from time to time when I was feeling a bit brave. Fast forward until 3 days ago, Tim posts a Facebook status, in a relationship. Great for Tim! He hasn't had a single boyfriend since I've known him. I go to check and he's in a relationship with a female. Not wanting to bother my girlfriend at work, I simply waited till she got home and made the remark that I was surprised that Tim was bi. She made a weird face and told me he wasn't into women, and that's when I showed her the Facebook update. She gets on Facebook maybe twice a month. She almost immediately gets a weird air about her and without nothing but a scoff, immediately heads for the bathroom where she disappears for about 10 minutes. I don't like jumping to conclusions, especially out of fear or anger, as they can be easily manipulated by your current emotions. When she came out of the bathroom, I asked if everything was okay, and she replied, "Well, I guess Tim is a liar," and proceeded to clean. It's her stress-relieving task. Here we are, 3 days later, and my girlfriend has been rather distant and a bit glued to her phone. I can tell by the way she moves, talks, and is acting that this is seriously bothering her. The issue here is that when I think back to all the times Tim was around, he never really gave off the vibes that he was gay. He was always talking about women being beautiful, called all his guy friends bros, and just had a very typical macho bro guy mentality I saw all too often in college. Finally, the issue at hand. I have brought him up only twice in the last 48 hours and she says, "I don't want to talk about it yet," which is fine, but it's starting to eat away at me. Her behavior is a complete 180 of who she usually is. Lately, always on her phone, always in a hurry or stressed, she sits at the opposite end of the couch. I notice the subtle things. Again, it's my one redeeming trait. Tim never seemed very interested in men to begin with, and while I know not all gay men are like the flamboyant drag queens media has presented, I just never got a single vibe from him. Never saw or heard him compliment men when we went out, and the few times I asked him if he had met any men, he would quickly divert the question politician style. So Reddit, I am in an emotional turmoil. I have this sinking feeling they were doing something behind my back, and that is why my girlfriend is so out of whack. She isn't his go-to girl anymore. I could also be incredibly wrong and she truly feels lied to and betrayed. But normally, when she feels such a way, she opens up to me almost immediately. I mean, let's face it, I'm the type of quiet little guy women feel financially and emotionally secure with, knowing I won't ever do anything cause I'm a huge P. I'm lost here. Well, OP, first of all, I would encourage you not to refer to yourself as a huge P, cause that just hurts your self-esteem. You need to love yourself a little, man. And about this story, what do you guys think is going on? Do you think the girlfriend was cheating behind OP's back with her gay friend, which wasn't actually so gay? Or do you think she's truly blindsided by the fact that Tim may not be gay? Well, the good thing is that we don't have to wonder for too long because the update is coming up now. So she got home from work a little early, over an hour and 15 minutes ago. I took a mix of everyone's advice, but I added the twist of making dinner before she got home. I figured maybe it might ease the segue into the conversation if she felt everything was functioning normally. After her shower, she sat down to eat, and I recommended we put our phones away and talk. I started by telling her I was worried about her and that she seemed to be shying away from opening up to me and that it also made me feel nervous and anxious. She responded by softly talking to me as she usually does, but she was crying through it. I don't want to reveal anything she told me as it would feel like a betrayal of privacy, but I have been told I am able to share how it all started as it was years back. Many of you were right, in different ways. She had feelings for him at one point when he was hired on their company a few years back. A lot of the women in her office were attracted to him, and they pretty much made a small game out of who could get him first. She didn't really participate in the game, and a lot of her female co-workers lightly dogged her for it. Over the course of the first 2 months there, Tim ended up at a desk next to hers, so naturally they began to talk. The women she worked with badgered her about being lucky and having an unfair advantage. I guess just jealous hazing? Not sure, but they kind of made it miserable for her. Over time, her and Tim became close and started spending time together outside the workplace, and eventually one day got drunk and ended up getting handsy and kissing outside the bar. She wasn't sure, but she believed one of the women from work must have seen them, as they frequented a bar near their office building, and word got back to her co-workers and, well, it spread like wildfire to the point where their whole floor had to have a meeting amongst the women in which they all had to come clean. The good news in this was that every single one of the women who harassed my girlfriend got a write-up by their floor advisor for workplace misconduct, and the 2 women who originally started the contest were promptly fired. The bad side was that everyone looked at her differently. So here is where many of you were right. Tim wasn't gay, nor at any point was he confused about it. He was indeed caught up in a multiple-year-long lie that stemmed from the drama at her place of employment. Today, they had a long talk on their lunch break and came to an understanding. Tim also got written up after that huge meeting, as he is in a position that doesn't make him directly her superior, but put him in a pay grade higher than hers, and the company viewed it as inappropriate. In order to save his career and to get the women to leave him alone, he told their advisor that he was into men and it was a drunken mistake. Tim told my girlfriend that in his 14 years working as an adult, he has never and will never date coworkers. So, my girlfriend is slowly recovering from all the crazy truth that came out. Here is where more of you are correct. She indeed had talked to him about things a straight male might not want to hear, and there have been a few times she, in her words, drunkenly made a royal A bucket of herself, so part of her freaking out was indeed embarrassment. Tim agreed to do a speakerphone call and apologized to me for causing her pain that got me anxious and worried. He also promised me he had never made a single move on her after that night between them. I know a lot of you may call me stupid or ignorant, but that man sounded sincere, and as I said in the original post, he's always been kind to me and on many occasions invited me out with them, but bars and clubs give me crazy anxiety. So thank you to all who were positive, supportive, and kind. The last 2 days have been the most emotionally exhausting I have felt in years. My girlfriend and I are going to have a little nice romantic camping weekend and get through this together. Love you, Reddit! And there you go, who called it? Let me know in the comments section. I totally understand the girlfriend's embarrassment because she shared a lot of intimate information with this guy under the wrong pretenses. And I also feel bad for Tim. He had to make up this lie that he was gay so that women wouldn't harass him in the office. That's stupid. You shouldn't have to do that. He should just be able to say, I don't date co-workers, and that's it. But in the end, the good thing is that the truth came out and nothing wrong was going on. What do you guys think about this whole thing? And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you guys liked it. If you did, go ahead and click like. Of course, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Also, here are more videos from my channel that you might enjoy. And having said all that, I will see you guys on the next video.